Hi and welcome to my critical Let's Play of Proteus for the Digital Writers Festival. My name is Brendan Keogh. I'm a video game critic and academic at RMIT University in Melbourne, and for a while I've been making these critical Let's Play series of videos, by which I mean they're videos of me playing for a game while talking about it critically, as opposed to the usual Let's Play genre, which is where somebody plays a game, it's their first time playing it, and they kind of just have a gut reaction to it. Instead, I've been doing these kind of more critical, I guess, or maybe not critical, but analytical looks at these games. In the past, I've done Max Payne 3 and the entire Modern Warfare trilogy, and those have been kind of like 20 episode long video series, whereas what I'm going to do here is just play through all of Proteus. It's a much shorter game, and I will do this in a single session for the Digital Writers Festival, and you can watch along with me. So without further ado, let's play Proteus. Proteus is a game by Ed Key and David Kanaga, two really great developers and minds in games. They both have a lot to contribute, and they're both good people. David Kanaga is a musician and composer, and also did music for the game Dyad, which is another really interesting game, and he writes a lot of really fascinating blog posts. So Proteus is a very simple game. Your eyes open, you're in the middle of the ocean, you can look around, and you kind of move with the usual WAS and D on the keyboard, with the mouse to look around. And at the start of a game, in the water, there's only one way you can go, which is towards land. You can't go out into the ocean. And that landmass is different every time you play the game. Always very similar, but mountains and trees and stuff will be in different places. It's a procedurally generated world, and there's always something different to explore. It's a very meditative, quiet, chilled out game. With this really evocative kind of retro style. Everything's really blocky. It reminds me of this old 3-color golf game that used to be on the Tandy 1000 my parents had when I was growing up. So all you really do in this game is you walk around and you look at this island, and more importantly, you listen to this island. I will stop talking soon and you'll be able to hear the kind of soundscape of it. And so there isn't really music in this game per se. There's just a lot of different noises kind of connected to different things in the environment, and those noises kind of create this kind of symphony of a kind of environmental symphony, I guess. And it's just this beautiful, evocative visual style. You hit rocks and this kind of bass line happens. I'm going to keep turning my volume up and down so that you can hear me as opposed to it, and back and forward. So this is all you do in this game, which might seem boring at first. So when Proteus came out a few years ago, there was a couple of these kind of high-profile, critically acclaimed releases, including Proteus, where you don't do anything. The other key one being Dear Esther by the Chinese Room. And Dear Esther is much more linear, much more authored. There is a specific pathway to follow. It's the same every time. Whereas Proteus is you just kind of wander around. So this kind of started, not debates, I guess, but discussions within video game critical discourses in terms of, are these things really video games at all? I like that there, how like your vision kind of goes faded if you look at the sun. So is this a video game? Which to a lot of people, especially if you're not, I guess, super versed in video game discourses and the enthusiast press and all that, probably seems like a silly question. Like, why wouldn't this be a video game? And we kind of traditionally have thought of video games as having goals and having challenges, and they are things that you win. Whereas you don't really win Proteus, you just kind of hang out in it for a little while and just find weird statues and listen to its soundscape. So then people are like, well, it's not a game, it's interactive art or virtual reality or something else. So it kind of kickstarted a whole lot of really interesting discussions about just what a video game is, or what's required for something to be a video game. And the answer to that, I guess the sun's going down now, the answer to that, I think, is that a video game doesn't require the ability to win or challenges to prevent you from progressing without getting better at it. All something needs in order to be a video game is the ability to engage with it, to play with it, really. Like, what makes this a video game is that I play with it, and that's really all that's necessary. Which is something David Kanaga, who did all the music and audio for this game, talks about a lot in a lot of his blog posts. He writes about, he takes this kind of, the notion that you play music and that you play video games, or that you play games and that you play music, and takes that as more than a semantic coincidence, takes it rather as a ontology, I guess, that these are both play media. And what does it mean to take that serious, that video games are played? I just sat down, I can press spacebar to sit down, by the way, and then I can't walk until I stand back up. And it says so much about this game that spacebar is sit down, when in most other first-person games, spacebar is jump. So it makes you move more, not less. What was I saying before I got distracted by sitting down and watching the moon? Yeah, so David Kanaga talked about playing video games and playing music. And when you think about that, then what does that mean? It means that they are both possibility spaces. It means they are spaces with certain affordances and restrictions which you can do certain things within, and which within you can't do other certain things. You play them. So video games, like, in that sense, kind of become instruments in order to, and what they create as instruments is the experience of playing it, where player and game come together. So you spend a while walking around this island. You've kind of got the Milky Way up there. We saw some statues. And as you walk around, you'll kind of see, especially once nighttime hits. So during the day, you don't really know what to do at all. You don't have any goals. You haven't really found anything that seems to make any kind of progression happen. You're just wandering around. But then as nighttime hits, you have these lights start appearing, and they kind of move across the map. And you follow them, and you will find a ring of stones. There will always be, the maps are always different, but there will always be a ring of stones somewhere. And as you get closer to them, the little motes of light start going in closer and closer. And the first time you do it, it's really lovely. Oh yeah, and time speeds up as well as you get closer and closer to it. So it's this really lovely sense of, you found this yourself. No one told you to do this, but you saw the lights and you followed them. So it kind of hints that maybe you should walk into them and see what happens. And then everything's slightly different. All the kind of little yellow buds are now blooming, and that there's insects in the air. The noise is much more alive. So essentially what has happened is it was spring and now it is summer. I haven't really explored this island much yet, so maybe I should go walk around more. So despite this kind of lack of spatial progression, in that I'm not going from one level to the next or anything like that, there's a clear temporal kind of progression where I've gone from one season to the next. It's just like such a beautiful, relaxed game. It was one of the first times I played it was at, well, I played it myself before this in my own home, but I was at a party in San Francisco during the Game Developers Conference a few years back, and it was a really loud party. There were lots of indie games being shown on different walls, like local multiplayer games where you stab each other and stuff, just projected on a wall, loud DJs blasting, you know, chiptune music, and people cheering each other as they play games. And there was this room separate from the rest of the noise, and you went in there and you were suddenly away from the cacophony of overwhelming senses outside. And in there was just people sitting cross-legged on the ground. In front of, well, and behind them rather, was somebody sitting in an armchair holding an Xbox controller, and they were controlling a game of Proteus projected on a wall. And it was kind of like a storyteller, kids sitting in front of a storyteller setup, except instead of facing the person telling the story, they were facing the story itself up on the screen. And it was relaxed. Some people were laying down, and I just sat down at the back of that room. I was so exhausted and quite drunk, and just watched this game being played, and like 10 or 20 people watching it be played. And it was just the most beautiful, relaxing, surreal experience. There's these old ruins of castles around, which get interesting as well. Look at that massive tree over there. Let's go explore that. I like this kind of plateau. I haven't really seen such a wide area like that before. So the whole game is just like so relaxing, and it progresses really quite beautifully, as we'll see once I get to the end of it, because it does have a start, middle, and end kind of. It's very much has a story, but it's so subtle about it that it's easy to miss that point. Oh, a squirrel. 2 squirrels. Some kind of glowing frog. It's like you're in a children's book and you are a child and you just like want to touch everything. Of course, the summer sun is a lot hotter. So the first time I spoke to Ed Key about this game, wow, what is that? What are you? I've never seen that. But isn't this just lovely? Like just hanging out here, exploring. It's just such a wonderful world to be in. Where'd that house go? Yeah, so anyway, the first time I spoke to Ed Key about this game, he sent me a pre-release copy in an email so I could play it and talk about it. And wow, look at all the frogs. He had to tell me that there was an ending, not just to play it for a while and then stop, that I was trying to get somewhere in it. And which is an issue the game never fully figured out how to deal with. Like, how do you not hold the player's hand, but let them know that they are actually walking towards an ending. They're not just hanging around a virtual world doing nothing. Because if you want to quit the game, you have to hold down escape. But you have to hold it down long enough for your eye to close. Which kind of is lovely in that it creates an ending in and of itself. You open your eye to start the game, and then you choose when to close your eyes, and you've kind of made this narrative which ended when you wanted it to end. But how do you stop players thinking that is the only ending. Whoops, sorry, woke up with chickens. There's an owl down there. Actually, there is one thing I want to go do. So I've played through this game a lot of times. I've played it with students as well, and every time I play it or every time I watch somebody else play it, I see something I've never seen before in it. Something I didn't know was possible, or a kind of creature I didn't know existed. And it's always so exciting. The things my students found in it was just absolutely remarkable. I don't want to say, actually, in case I'm able to replicate whatever we did to make him appear. On top of one of these mountains, I kind of haven't been paying attention to the outlay of it. Where am I? Oh, maybe it's over there. I want to try to find those weird horse statues. I should have done this at the daytime, sorry. Once I sat on a hill and just watched a meteorite shower just across the sky, and it's almost spiritual, this game. And it's something about the soundscape, obviously, not just the kind of retro visuals. It's the whole game just creates this soothing environment. It's around here somewhere. It's no rush, we got all day. Well, I think technically I have half an hour, but whatever. Whoosh. I like how you move faster downhill. While I'm looking for it, what I should also talk about is critical let's... Wow, that was cool. I should talk about critical let's plays themselves. So I don't need to tell you again what is a critical let's play because you're watching one. This is a critical let's play. Which, I don't know, it's kind of a pretentious term for it, isn't it? Because I'm not really being that critical. I'm really being more analytical than anything. But what I hope to convey with that term is that I'm not just like, it isn't solely me trying to sell the game by being, oh, there it is. It's not just me trying to like sell the game by like, whoa, check that out, how cool is that? Which a lot of Let's Plays are. You know, what most Let's Plays want to achieve is that feeling of you're sitting in a lounge room next to the person playing and you're both kind of experiencing it for the first time together. Which is a way a lot of us probably consumed a lot of video games when we were younger anyway and had siblings and we all wanted to play the one game. But these critical Let's Plays I'm doing, and other people are doing them as well, I essentially see it as an extension of the critical work I do in writing essays and whatnot. But they allow me to do things I can't necessarily do in an essay. But I'll talk more about that in a second because I finally found my circle of statues. And when you walk into the middle of them, the stars go weird. You can make the sky go red somehow. Maybe that's in a different season. I can't remember. You can kind of hear it as well. Alright, let's move on to autumn. The other thing you can use these kind of stone circles for is to, like, you can walk in to get to a certain time of day and then walk out again to slow it back down. So it's almost like a remote control for, like, fast forwarding and stuff. Wow. It's like every second just looks like a great screenshot. And that's exactly what a critical Let's Play achieves that a essay doesn't. I can write in an essay how great an asteroid storm, meteor shower, I think that's it, whatever. I can talk about how great that is in an essay, and I can Google it to make sure I've actually caught it the right thing. But here you can actually watch it and kind of be there and be like, all right, that's what it's like. So you get the moment-to-moment appreciation that you wouldn't get in a written essay. And that's why I started doing them in the first place, really, was because I really like the Call of Duty Modern Warfare series, which is a series which is probably about as far removed. Oh, the bugs are dead. It's probably a series about as far removed from Proteus as you could possibly imagine. But I really like the Modern Warfare games, and I really struggle to explain in writing why I enjoy them. There's this really fine-tuned, moment-to-moment pacing of those games, which I think are exquisitely done, despite the totally messed up military fetishism of them. Some snow on the mountains. So I decided just to play through them and talk about them. And at different moments of a game, I could be like, look there, look at that thing, that way that corridor deliberately frames what's happening outside for a window. So by playing through the games and talking about them at the same time, I was able to do that in a way that I couldn't do that in an essay. And that's really where the idea of doing it started. So the change in music is really quite dramatic through the seasons. It's like a song. It starts kind of slow. In spring, it's a kind of intro. Then you get to summer, and it's like super energetic. Everything's kind of kicking off. And then autumn is starting to die down a bit again. But I'll turn the volume up so we can listen to what exactly it's like here. Is that so beautiful? It's just like, everything about this is beautiful. I think also you learn a lot about a game from watching somebody play it. Games are performative, you perform them. In that sense, they have more in common with cinema or theatre or sport, in that it doesn't just exist somewhere except in code. Well, even code is a performance. You have a book, you hold a book, and the entire text is there on one page or the other. Film as well, arguably, actually, every frame is on that film reel. Theatre only exists while it's being performed. You have a script, for sure, but any one performance of Hamlet only exists during the performance. Any one playthrough of Proteus only exists during that playthrough of Proteus. So, as a performed medium, then you learn more about them by watching them performed than you are just reading about them. Reading the script of a theatre show won't tell you the same things that watching that theatre show will tell you. And of course, watching me play Proteus won't tell you the things that playing Proteus will tell you. But in watching it, you learn some things. And of course, there are people that I might be making this look easy because I've spent 20 years of my life controlling first-person characters in three-dimensional worlds. But it's not an intuitive thing to do, to use a mouse and a keyboard at the same time. I love that trumpet that comes in at sunset in autumn. Well, I think it's a trumpet. I got lost again. I thought I was walking towards the statues. The clouds aren't helping. So in autumn, you just kind of have these lights all over the world. So let's see what happens if I go into these lights tonight. Say what? And then this thing appears and runs off. Oh, and it's kind of terrifying because you haven't seen another humanoid figure before. Like, it's a very lonely game, and to find somebody in a lonely game It's a little terrifying. It's like he's made out of stardust. Not sure why he's disappearing. Normally he runs off into the forest. Let's try one more time. No, he doesn't want to hang around. Sometimes he runs off into the trees and you can chase him. I don't know why it's still red. Oh wait, what? Is he still around? What's going on? Wow. Wait, what? What just happened? I don't know what just happened. All the trees just changed. Did I go into some magical alternate universe? So this is interesting. Now, here's another good thing about critical Let's Plays is sometimes things happen in games and you have no freaking idea that could happen, and you capture it on film or on video, and that's nice because now I have a video proof that whatever the hell just happened actually happened. Anyway, let's move on to winter. Oh, look at the fireflies. Isn't this lovely? Isn't it a lovely game? I highly recommend you play it. PC and Mac, it's on Steam. If you go to Steam, you can find it for PC and Mac. Or if you have a PlayStation 4, no, sorry, not a PlayStation 4, a PlayStation 3 or a PlayStation Vita, you can play it on that as well. So now we're in winter. All the trees are dead. It's a really heavy cloud cover, really low-hanging cloud. Music's very minimal now. Let's try to get above these clouds. Where's the sun? No, the sun's probably below the clouds, actually. So there's almost a sense of finality, I guess, or that it's even lonelier than normal. There's no bugs anymore. There's no piano key frogs. There's no flies. There's nothing that makes noise. Everything that was adding to the kind of symphony of Proteus has gone. It feels dying. It feels quiet, both in the music and in the visuals. And there's that really close, almost synesthesic kind of connection between those two in this game, which is unsurprising with David Kanaga's involvement. And you feel like you're exploring a song, for this world is a song. And you're both playing it and exploring it, and that it's coming to an end. just going to sit down and watch the snow for a little while. I feel like I've been moving around a lot. I should just appreciate it. So every season before this one, we kind of ended it when we wanted to end it. We moved on when we wanted to move on. It's a very self-paced game like that. But now you're at winter, and you kind of begin wondering, well, what happens after winter? Do we just go back to spring? Or what else will happen? So you're still kind of stuck waiting until nighttime so that you can move on. But there's this kind of trepidation, like what happens after winter? And suddenly, I'm not on the ground anymore. And this kind of voices have started the music. And you don't notice at first until you start trying to walk down a hill and realize you can't. But you're rising into the air. And it's so subtle and just so subtle and nuanced at first that you just don't know what's happening. And then it's obviously happening because you're going above the treetops and above the houses, and those low-hanging clouds suddenly aren't so far away. And essentially, after being self-paced all the way through, where you decide when you want to move on, all of a sudden you don't have a choice anymore. You're being pulled out of this world, whether you want to be pulled out of it or not. And I find something very effective about that. Something very emotional. The clouds part ways for you, and you just begin to rise into the stars. So for me, this is death, essentially. You're dying. But not in a really grim, sad way, just in a... You've gone through all the seasons, and that's it. You now have to leave this world. Like, you have experienced what there is to experience in Proteus. And you'll never see this world again, because the next time you load it up, it won't be the same world. Like, I kind of feel it in my chest, like, and I'm not trying to be overly melodramatic, but almost like that feeling when you want to cry, like, and I don't think I want to cry, but I feel like that's the emotion the game is trying to elicit from me. A sense of loss, a sense of leaving. It's like the final episode of MASH. I'm looking down and I should see "thank you" written in stones or something. Or "goodbye," or whatever's written in stones in MASH. And then, like, the draw distance kind of sucks up the world, sucks up the statues, and now there's nothing but me and just sky. I've left the world, like, that's it, this is it. And then your eyes voluntarily close, or involuntarily close. And then the game finishes. So it's the same ending as if the player chose to end anywhere else through the game, with the eyes closing. But it's just so beautiful. It's such a lovely, emotional, evocative, effective exploration of this beautiful musical world. It's just a lovely, spiritual, calming, relaxing video game, which just shows all of this potential that there is in the video game medium when you stop thinking about them having to have goals and systems and mechanics. And that all you need is somewhere to explore and some sounds and some music to explore with. So that's Proteus. That is my critical Let's Play of Ed Key and David Kanaga's Proteus. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks to the Digital Writers Festival for letting me do it. And I'm sure there will be links somewhere on the page where you're watching this to my Patreon page where you can support me do other critical Let's Plays of other games, or to my website where you can find my writing. But thank you for coming along on the ride.